again. Today we're going to be reading Jack and the Beanstalk, illustrated by Christos Skaltsis. Jack and his mother were very poor and very hungry. One day, Jack's mother sent Jack to the market. "You must sell our cow so we can use the money to buy food." Jack swapped the cow for magic beans instead. Jack's mother was very disappointed that Jack had not brought back any food. "You silly boy! Now we have no food, no cow, and no money." She tossed the beans out the window. The next morning, Jack woke up and looked out the window. He was shocked to see a giant beanstalk growing in the garden all the way up into the sky. He climbed up the beanstalk. At the top of the beanstalk was a giant castle. Jack knocked on the door and a sweet cook gave him food. But then they heard loud footsteps. "A giant lives here and he eats little boys. You need to hide." Jack hid in a cupboard out of sight. The grumpy giant stomped into the kitchen. "Fee, fi, fo, fum. I smell the blood of a little boy." Jack gulped from his hiding spot in the cupboard, but the cook distracted the giant by cooking him supper. After eating, the giant counted his gold and fell asleep. As quietly as he could, Jack climbed out of the cupboard. On his way out of the castle, Jack grabbed as many coins as he could carry from the sleeping giant. Jack gave the gold to his mother, and they brought food until the gold ran out. Jack climbed back up the beanstalk to see what else he could take from the giant. He snuck into the castle and hid inside the same cupboard until he heard the giant come into the kitchen. "Fee, fi, fo, fum. I smell the blood of a little boy," the giant roared. But then the cook gave the giant his dinner. When the giant had finished eating, he demanded the cook bring him his hen. Jack watched as the hen laid an enormous golden egg. When the giant fell asleep, Jack stole the hen. The next day, Jack climbed up the beanstalk again. He hid in the same spot and waited for the giant to appear. The giant yelled at the cook to bring him his golden harp. The cook placed a magical harp on the table, which began playing by itself, and the music soon sent the giant off to sleep. Jack took the harp, but woke up the giant, who chased after him. The giant climbed down the beanstalk after Jack, but he was much slower. When Jack was close to the ground, his mother heard the commotion and came running with an axe. She quickly chopped down the beanstalk and the giant fell to the ground with a loud thump. And that was the end of the greedy giant. Discussion questions. What would you do if you came across a castle filled with treasure? If you had to hide from a giant, where would you go? Should Jack have swapped the beans for the cow? It's story time! Yay! What are we reading today? The Three Little Pigs, illustrated by Hannah Wood. There were once 3 little pigs who decided to leave home and explore the world. They all headed in different directions as their mum waved goodbye. "Be safe and stay away from the big bad wolf," she said. The first pig was very lazy, and luckily he soon came across a farmer pulling a cart filled with straw. He asked the farmer if he could buy the straw to build his house quickly. But as soon as the first little pig had started to relax in his new home, the big bad wolf came knocking. "Little pig, let me in," the wolf called. "Not by the hair of my chinny chin chin," replied the first little pig. "Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house down." The straw house blew down and the first little pig quickly ran away. "Oh dear!" The second little pig was a harder worker than the first. He found a lumberjack chopping trees in the woods and asked if he could buy some sticks to build his house. The second little pig soon built his house made of sticks. But no sooner had he sat down to enjoy a cup of tea did the second little pig hear a noise at the door. It was the big bad wolf calling, "Little pig, let me in." "Not by the hair of my chinny chin chin," responded the second little pig. "Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house down." Oh no! The stick house blew down and the second little pig quickly ran away. The third little pig was the smartest of them all and had listened to his mother about keeping safe from the big bad wolf. He found some bricks and mortar to build with, so his house would be very strong. It took him longer, but the third little pig had a strong house. Suddenly, over the hill, the third little pig saw his two brothers running towards him. The big bad wolf was chasing them. The third little pig called his brothers to the safety of his brick house. But the big bad wolf didn't give up. He stood outside the brick house and called, "Little pigs, let me in." "Go away, big bad wolf," the third brother called bravely. "No matter," said the wolf. "I will simply huff and puff and blow this house down too." So the wolf huffed and puffed, but the strong brick house didn't move. The wolf climbed to the roof of the brick house and went down the chimney. Oh no! But little did he know that the third little pig had cleverly planned ahead and was boiling a large pot of soup on the fire. When the wolf reached the bottom of the fireplace, his tail dipped into the boiling pot. He yelped in pain, leapt out of the fireplace and ran out the door. He sped into the forest and was never seen again. Oh, phew! Discussion questions. Which of the three houses would you like to live in? If you had to build your own house, what would you use to build it? Do you think it's better to build something quickly or build it well? Yay! It's story time! Today we're reading Goldilocks and the Three Bears, illustrated by Christos Skaltsis. One sunny morning, Goldilocks was walking through the woods and came across a lovely cottage. "I wonder who lives here," said Goldilocks. When Goldilocks raised her hand to knock, the door swung open and Goldilocks stepped inside. She called out, but it appeared no one was home. Inside, there were 3 bowls of hot porridge. Suddenly, Goldilocks felt very hungry. I suppose no one would mind if I tried some of this porridge. She took a spoonful from the first bowl, but it scorched her tongue. Oh no, this porridge is much too hot. Goldilocks tried the next bowl, but this one was far too cold. Ugh, yuck! She tried the last bowl. This porridge is just right. Goldilocks was so full of porridge, she thought she'd like a nice rest. She moved through the cottage and found 3 armchairs. First, she sat on the big chair, but it was much too hard. Then she sat on the second chair, but it was too soft and she sunk into the cushions. She sat on the last chair, but it broke. Oh dear! Now Goldilocks was tired and a bit sore, so she decided to go upstairs to have a lie down. She tried the biggest bed, but it was too high. Then she tried the middle-sized bed, but it was too low. The last bed was just right, and Goldilocks fell asleep. While Goldilocks was sleeping, the 3 bears returned to their cottage. They had been out walking while their porridge cooled. The 3 bears noticed that the bowls had all been touched. "Who's been eating my porridge?" asked Daddy Bear. "Who's been eating my porridge?" asked Mummy Bear. "Who's been eating my porridge? They've eaten it all up." Then they went to the sitting room, where they found a mess. "Who's been sitting in my chair?" asked Daddy Bear. "Who's been sitting in my chair?" asked Mummy Bear. "Well, who's been sitting in my chair? They've broken it to pieces," cried Baby Bear. When they went upstairs, they found the bedroom disturbed as well. "Who's been sleeping in my bed?" asked Daddy Bear. "Who's been sleeping in my bed?" asked Mummy Bear. "Who is sleeping in my bed?" cried Baby Bear. Just then, Goldilocks woke up and saw the 3 bears looking down at her. She jumped up in fear and ran away, past the sitting room with the broken chair, past the kitchen with the bowls of porridge, and out the door. Goldilocks ran and ran all the way back home without looking back once. Discussion questions. What is your favourite food to have for breakfast? Is your bed too hard, too soft, or is it just right? Should Goldilocks have gone into the house of the 3 bears? Thanks for reading with us today. I'll see you next time. What are we reading today? Little Red Riding Hood, illustrated by Christos Skaltsis. Little Red Riding Hood's grandma lived on the other side of the forest. "Your grandma is sick," said Little Red's mum one day. "Take her this basket of food, follow the path, and be careful of strangers." Little Red said goodbye to her mum, then she set off along the forest path. She picked blue flowers on the way. Suddenly, Little Red bumped into a wolf. "Hello, little girl," said the big bad wolf. "Where are you going?" "I'm visiting Grandma. I have food and I'm picking her favourite blue flowers. She always puts them in her window." The wolf licked his lips. "I can help you pick the flowers," said the wolf. "No thanks," said Little Red. "Mum says never walk with strangers." In the distance, a woodcutter yelled, "Timber!" The wolf, who was terrified of woodcutters, ran off. "Phew," thought Little Red. Little Red walked on. The big bad wolf ran until he couldn't hear the woodcutter anymore. His tummy rumbled. He was hungry. He wished he'd eaten the little girl. Around the bend, he saw a cottage with blue flowers in the window. This must be Grandma's house. The little girl would be along any minute. The big bad wolf quickly hatched a nasty plan. He crept inside the cottage and found Grandma sleeping. He ate her up in one big gulp. Oh no! Then the wolf closed all the curtains and hopped into Grandma's bed. He put on her cap and glasses. The wolf pulled the sheets up to his hairy chin. He waited for Little Red. Little Red skipped up to the cottage door. Her basket was full of blue flowers. Little Red noticed the door was open. This was very odd. Grandma usually kept it closed. "Grandma?" she called out. The wolf put on his best granny voice. "Come in, my dear," he called. It was dark in the cottage. Little Red could only just see her grandma in bed. Grandma looked a bit strange. "Grandma, what big eyes you have," said Little Red, creeping closer. "All the better to see you with," said the big bad wolf. "What big ears you have," said Little Red. "All the better to hear you with," said the wolf. "Oh, Granny, what big teeth you have," said Little Red. "All the better to eat you with," roared the wolf. He leapt out of bed. Little Red dropped her basket and ran. "Help!" she cried. The wolf sprang after Little Red. He tripped over her basket. Bump! He bumped his tummy so hard that he did a giant burp. Grandma flew right out of his mouth. The woodcutter heard Little Red's cry and came running to help. "Oh no!" cried the wolf when he saw the woodcutter. The big bad wolf turned and ran away as fast as he could. The wolf was never seen again. Discussion questions. What are your favourite type of flowers? If you visited your sick granny, what would you take her so that she could feel better? What would you do if you met a talking wolf? Thanks for reading with us today. We will see you next time.
It's so much fun, so here we go to the Zoodio Studio.
Now it's your turn to play.
Yeah.
Download Zoodio.
Zoodio.